A reunion held this summer in Cherry Valley led to a second volume of stories from the region. The book launch for Around the Point 2 happens this weekend. Many people from Cherry Valley, China Point, and Earnscliffe contributed tales and photographs for this book. Laura Chapin reached the two co-editors. B. Irving is in Cherry Valley, and Norman Dale spent his summers in the area. He lives in Prince George, BC.
Explain to me, how did a summer reunion lead to this second volume of stories?
Well, from the reunion, people had all kinds of memories of their different ages and stages through the years, and they were sharing them and cherishing the moment of deep roots in rural PEI and how much it means to them, even though they're out in BC or Israel or down in the States or wherever you are, they call Around the Point area home.
And so you didn't have to physically still be around the point in order to contribute?
Not at all.
And that's the thing, is the vast number of stories and different stories. It's so hard to know which ones to focus on. But I did want to talk a little bit about Dot Sullivan, because her story weaves both the opening of the school and the reunion together. Can you tell me how?
Well, it's hard to believe, and she doesn't know herself, Dot, how at the age of 6 years old in 1933, at the opening of the new Cherry Valley School, how she was able to learn a very, very long song called 50 Years From Now. And she and her cousin Olive sang that. And years later, she knew 3 lines kept coming back to her, and how someone helped her. Her first cousin, Bob Sharon, went to Richard McCrae's home, and Karen looked up the words, but she had no music. But imagine, Dot was able, with the words, the tune came back. She was able to sing, imagine, 81 years later, in August 2014, she was able to accompany herself and sing the song to the reunion group. It was just amazing. She thanked the people of Cherry Valley, China Point, and Earnscliffe for keeping the old Cherry Valley School that she went to as a community center, because a community center helps keep a community alive.
And that's where you're launching the book on Sunday, correct?
Exactly.
And Norman, another moving story in the book is about Helen Much and her time as a nurse in the First World War. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, first of all, I knew nothing, and this is part of the tremendous benefit for me of doing this, is I knew nothing of Helen Much before I got her story. But when I read it, it just came right out off the page, just what a fine and caring person she was. She had trained to be a nurse. In her story, there's tragedies that occurred to her along the way to her nursing career, and then her choice to go overseas and be right on the front lines of the First World War, which her brother was also fighting in. It just really, I felt I knew her after just 2 pages, and I felt a tremendous responsibility along with B to make sure that her story was, basically got the care that she gave to others 100 years ago.
I mean, that's the thing. She came home from nursing training in Calgary because your mother and sister were sick with measles, but they died before she got home.
Yeah.
And then just before she headed off to the war, a neighbor's son was killed, so she helped comfort that mother. The community really reached out to her and thanked her. They sent her letters of thanks. Is that typical of the community?
Yes, it is, because we have another World War story, World War II, where Reg McGinnis from Earnscliffe, the family lives in China Point now, and where the community reached out to him, and they had farewell and welcome home parties, and it just goes to show you the caring there was in the community. The community, like all rural PEI, is fast changing, and sadly, a lot of people now who move in, we don't know them all.
B. and Norman, you were co-editing this book, separated by thousands of miles. How did you make that possible?
Well, the ironies of the situation is that all these wonderful old stories are editable and you can deal with them, and the pictures and all that. by virtue of the most modern technologies, or at least fairly modern, the internet.
And how many emails, if you counted them all up, how many do you think you're talking?
I think there was around 1,100 emails from B, and I usually was responding to her with at least one, so I suspect her mailbox got pretty full of Norman, too.
B, is that true?
Well, I think he aptly described it as a blizzard of emails.
But the book is there, it must feel like quite an accomplishment.
And it's just in time for Christmas.
And B, the last story, it really moved me. It's Do You Take Time to Smell the Roses? It was written by your late sister-in-law, Norma Crane.
Yes.
Why was that the message that you wanted to end the volume of stories on?
Because Norma was interested in everything and everyone. She took the time. And so often today, we're all so busy and we have information overload, and we don't have time to stop and smell the roses. And this was just a little reminder to perhaps to do that.
Yeah, I love it. Be careful not to get in the fast lane. Instead, when the opportunity arises, take a moment and enjoy what is happening now. This moment is all you have. Yesterday is gone and tomorrow is yet to come.
Well put.
I also was very, very fond of Norma. She was a wonderful, in a ways, old-time values kind of person with a great sense of humor, and we all miss her very much. And her reminder to stop and smell the roses was also the first story that Bea sent me, and it served to tell me that I should stop and take some time, and I just feel so privileged to have been part of this.
The book launch for Around the Point Volume 2 happening this Sunday from 2 until 3, although I know Bea, when she called in for our public service announcements, was saying, we're not going to kick anybody out at 3. It's kind of a movable end time for this book launch at the Cherry Cliff Community Center in Cherry Valley. All proceeds from the book going to support the community center, which is the old school.